Welcome to Previously on X-Men, the podcast that looks at X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more. I'm Hillary.
I'm Nick.
And today we are talking, what are we talking about? Marvel's Cosmic Invasion. I knew it was the game. This is for you, Nick.
Thank you.
This is a side-scroller
classic
arcade game style thing, but that came out in December of 2025.
That's right.
By Tribute Games. Mm-hmm. This was directed by Fred Gemus, written
by dialogue.
Sure, written by Yannick Belzil, and music by T. Lopes.
So did you not realize that this was a new game?
I didn't really think about it that deeply.
Okay.
I assumed it was just like a old arcade game.
Yeah. Well, it came out pretty close to the Marvel Maximum collection, which assembled all the ones they had licenses to, of classic side-scrollers like Captain America, The Avengers, and X-Men Arcade, Spider-Man game, Silver Surfer, Spider-Man, X-Men. Those all came out in their own little set, but this kind of beat them to the punch. And there's been a bit of a resurgence in some of these side-scroller games, especially based on retro properties. Like we did a whole episode on This Story in Life. We were talking about Karate Kid, and we covered the Karate Kid game, which pretty much is just the same thing, going through the Karate Kid movie as a side-scroller. But there's a G.I. Joe one, there's Power Ranger, all over the place. And this is well done, I think, as a Marvel game that's mimicking a style of yesteryear.
You really liked the X-Men arcade game and all of that stuff. I was never super into the side-scroller style.
Oh, really? Why not?
I don't know. I didn't
just repetitive?
I just didn't go to arcades. And when I was playing this one, it was pretty entertaining, but it's not my style at all.
Well, it was I think the length of this was pretty solid because it was a little longer than those arcade games tended to be, but I don't really think it overstayed its welcome. But yes, I would go to the arcade in my mall, was called Aladdin's Castle, and we would go, and it was pretty much Ninja Turtles, X-Men Arcade, Simpsons Arcade. Those were the main things that I would gravitate towards. I played X-Men Arcade a million times, usually as Dazzler. And the X-Men arcade game really threw off my understanding of what was common in the X-Men, because I watched Pride of the X-Men when it came out. I had the VHS, and I played the arcade game, which is mimicking the style of Pride of the X-Men. So I thought, Dazzler, core X-Men. You always got to have Dazzler.
Yeah, of course.
But I really loved in the Maximum Collection that they had Captain America and the Avengers, which was... I played that on Sega Genesis, and I think that was the first video game that I ever start to finish beat by myself, and it was a momentous occasion.
Yeah, I think it's just like the random fighting games that I'm just not super... My sister back in high school was super into Marvel vs. Capcom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great one.
Which is you're just like punching each other.
Yeah.
And like she loved it. And I just never got into that.
Oh, no. I played tons of Super Street Fighter 2. And then also on Sega Genesis, I had one called Justice League Task Force, which was the same principle. Those are like fighting each other kind of games, whereas this is more like you're going through and you're co-op fighting enemies. Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah. I've always liked those.
Probably the closest that I ever did, there was like a PC game called Mario is Missing, and that had
that's a deep cut, Hillary. Good for you.
Those kinds of vibes.
Yeah.
I also never fully it's possible that it was just a demo. I can't remember.
Yeah, I played a lot of demos in my days. Yeah.
Because I feel like it never actually ended or something.
That's really funny.
But there was that, and there were these Hugo games that were like text-based.
I had a Spider-Man text-based game on a Commodore 64 that I played to death. I loved it so much.
Yeah. But I don't know. We just didn't go to arcades, I guess.
Okay. Well, I had those, and then like on Sega Genesis, I would play the X-Men game and then X-Men 2 Clone Wars, which were both of those. I played them so much. And Clone Wars was fun because you would just drop right into a level. You couldn't pick your player. It was just boom, you're in it. And as you progress through Clone Wars, you would fight Magneto, and then he would kind of be like, we have a similar goal. And then you could play as Magneto.
You do these
voices. It was
the
greatest. It's the greatest.
I don't know how many voices there are that you do that are just like villains from these stupid old games. And
guilty
they're
as charged.
Annoying.
No.
Do you want to do one right now?
No,
so
I don't want to do one. No, because we have a whole episode to record. In Captain America and the Avengers, Wonder Man shows up and he gives them these
I'm
gliders.
girding myself.
And they go, thank you, Wonder Man. Oh, just like that. If you've played Captain America and the Avengers, which I recommend,
I can't tell
you would hear that noise.
How much I hate that.
I know. Let's talk about some voices that you do like, though, because Marvel's Cosmic Invasion has some fun returning voice actors. So we have Cal Dodd back as Wolverine.
Yeah.
The second he opens his mouth,
Yep.
because there's sort of just that gruff Wolverine voice,
Yeah, I mean, it's not the hardest voice to mimic.
Right.
Because it has a very specific.
Yeah, well, it's like doing a Batman voice, you know. Everybody but Christian Bale can do a Batman voice. But you recognize Cal Dodd right away. And then the fun keeps going because Alison Sealy-Smith is here as Storm.
Nailing it as always.
Yeah, and I didn't pick up on this, but she also voices Shuri. And as soon as Shuri started talking, you were like, wait, that's Alison Sealy-Smith. Jennifer Hale is here as Jean Grey in The Phoenix. She also voiced Spider-Woman in the Iron Man series. I don't know
what you're talking about.
Oh, you don't remember that?
I've blocked that from my brain.
She voices Jean in many things, as we've covered. Other X-Men characters include Kazar, who is voiced by Jacob Dudman. What a name. We have Carrie Shale as Professor X. His only other Marvel work was voicing MODOK in the Lego Marvel Superheroes #2 game.
How bizarre.
I know. It wasn't a bad Xavier, but, it didn't...
I felt that it was a bad Xavier.
Oh, did you think so? Okay.
I just thought it was weird.
Yeah, it was weird, but I didn't really bump up on it. Forge makes a silent cameo. Like going through a level, the door opens and Forge is there, and it's like, hey, Forge.
No voice for Forge.
A lot of the other voice cast members are reprising roles from other things, so let me just hit you with a couple real quick. We have Brian Bloom, who's back as Captain America, reprising the role from Earth's Mightiest Heroes and a bunch of other performances as Captain America. We have Steve Bloom, who's voicing Venom here.
Love him.
Yeah, but he also has voiced Wolverine and Wolverine and the X-Men and lots of things. Josh Keaton is here reprising his role as the Spectacular Spider-Man. He also plays Iron Man in this, so he's doing a double role here. We have James Mathis III is voicing Black Panther, a role he also voiced in Avengers Assemble. We have Alicia Rotaro, who's reprising the She-Hulk role from Marvel Superhero Adventures. She also voices Black Canary in lots of DC projects.
I didn't think that she was the best She-Hulk.
No, it wasn't a great She-Hulk.
It was like a noticeable voice, but like not right somehow.
It didn't have the cool, like the personality was not quite right. Yeah. And then we have Eileen Mitham as Phyla Vel. This is her only Marvel role. So we didn't have Captain Marvel, but she was kind of filling that role. Like
I wonder why they did that.
I don't know. I know in the comics she takes over for Captain Marvel a time or two, but that was the only real deep cut I felt like we had in the cast list, which was a little strange. I did appreciate how you could play as multiple roles. So each time you would select, you could combine players, and they recorded dialogue to make all of that make sense.
For like calling in backup from specific people.
Right. So like when Captain America would pop out and She-Hulk would come in, you'd have a little voice clip of him being like, all right, Jen, take over and stuff like that, which I felt like was they kind of going the extra mile there.
Yeah, that was cool. Do you want to do our X-Files segment?
Sure. Trevor Duvall here voices Rocket Raccoon and MODOK. So he also is reprising the role of Rocket from the 2015 Guardians of the Galaxy animated series.
I can see being good at both of those things.
Yeah, it makes sense. He voiced Sabretooth in Lego Marvel Strange Tales. He is voicing Emperor Palpatine in Lego Star Wars The Yoda Chronicles, which Steve and I are currently covering.
Aren't you doing that on This Very Life?
Right
I just
now.
heard you complain about how they're not actually Yoda Chronicles.
They're not Yoda Chronicles, no. There was one season that was really heavy on Yoda training people, and then right in the middle of that show, Lucasfilm was sold to Disney, and they like continued the show but dropped the whole premise and kept the name. Very weird. But yeah, he's a decent Emperor Palpatine. He's not doing a Seth MacFarlane impression, which so many emperors are doing now. And finally, Trevor Duvall also voices Pyro in X-Men Evolution, which I don't think you guys have gotten to a Pyro episode.
I don't think we've seen him yet.
So that's the cast and crew for Marvel's Cosmic Invasion.
The side-scroller video game.
That's right.
So there's a synopsis for this.
Let's do it.
Because it has a plot.
Yeah.
And the plot is thus. A cosmic battle awaits. After Annihilus has launched an unprecedented attack across the galaxy, all life hangs in the balance. Nova, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Phyla Vel, Captain America, and many more heroes, both Earthborn and cosmic, will join forces in a star-spanning, brawling adventure against the deadly Annihilation Wave. From New York City to the depths of the negative zone, the future of the universe will be fought across the stars in Marvel Cosmic Invasion.
I like that dramatic reading you did.
I thought it was pretty
It really added a layer to it.
Yeah. I don't remember any of that happening.
It happened.
I just remember kicking and punching.
There was a lot of kicking and punching.
And then moving to the next line and kicking and punching some more.
Yes, you're right. All right, speaking of kicking and punching, let's talk about who was doing the kicking and punching. You start with Beta Ray Bill, Black Panther. Beta Ray Bill's another kind of a deep cut from the Thor world. It's not Thor, it's Beta Ray, which is weird. Beta Ray Bill, Black Panther, Captain America, Cosmic Ghost Rider, a version of Ghost Rider that no one likes. Iron Man, Nova, Rocky Raccoon, She-Hulk, Spider-Man, Storm, and Wolverine. And then you can unlock Phyla-Vell, Phoenix, Silver Surfer, and Venom as you play through the story.
I guess maybe they're going with like spacey ones and also Captain America, I guess.
And Black Panther and Wolverine. I don't know. I guess the X-Men in space is kind of its own thing, but it is an interesting thing. You can alter the costumes on these, which gives you a few more characters because Captain America has a U.S. agent variant, and then She-Hulk has a red She-Hulk variant. So
is this the one that you basically just changed the colors of the costumes?
Yeah, with the exception of those two, yeah. Storm, I think you get a little bit more. When you change the costume, she goes to sort of like the bike shorts costume versus like long pants and stuff. But who were your go-to players?
I started out really liking Storm.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go with Wolverine, but I ended up using him a lot because he's just better at just brawling.
It's funny how even in the games, it's like, well, you got to have Wolverine in there.
Phyla-Vell was fun. She has like a sword situation. And that was kind of... I think she was good for ranged attacks, which I always wish I could do more ranged attacks. I'm not so into the close-up stuff.
Yeah.
Phoenix was not good.
No, that's true. That wasn't a very good representation of those powers either, which I guess is hard to do when her power is endless. But I tended to go with She-Hulk and Captain America. And that was a pretty fun pairing because you start with one and then you can either call in the other if you're being if you're being bound or something, you can call them in and they'll break the binds and go away, or you can swap out. There's a couple different levels of mutant power or just superpower, depending on who you're playing as, where you could do one and it would be like a moderately big attack. And then there was a second where your second character would come in and really kind of clean the field. So I felt like it was a decent amount of challenge for a very simple gameplay.
I could have used more powers.
Yeah.
I like when you can level up and do another big power.
Yeah, you do kind of miss that. You have a couple
I think there's enough levels that you just sort of get bored doing the same. Like with Storm, it's just like either she's punching or she does like a tornado, and that's just it.
Right.
So you're just doing that over and over and over. I don't know.
I do feel like having the second character that you can easily alternate is kind of fun because you can, if you get bored with one, you can swap out. You don't have to wait for every single level to change. Let me just run you through the levels real quick. We have the Nova Cruiser, New York City, Genosha, the Helicarrier, the Savage Lands, Wakanda, Blue Area of the Moon, Asgard, Distramundo, Clintar, Hala. You were excited about Clintar. Don't lie.
Was I excited?
Yeah, you were like, it's Clintar.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, you were. Hala, Sanctuary 2, Fort Galactus, Heteropteron, Anthros, Citadel, and again for the New York City rooftops for the last battle. So I felt like this was a good length, as I mentioned. It's longer than the typical arcade brawler like this. I mean, you can cruise through X-Men Arcade or Captain America: The Avengers in an hour. And this, is probably a couple of hours of going through. There was some decent variation where you get to a fork in the road and you could choose which direction that you wanted to go, which was nice. And
well, like when there's like holes in the ground or something?
No. Like when you're on the map where you're selecting the level, you get to that point where it was like you can either take this path or
like
that
storylines.
path. Yeah, storyline wise. So you can alter the order a little bit. So if you're stuck on one, you can choose the alternate. So there was some nice things built in there. And there is a lot more that you can do as far as like unlocking other costumes and things as you play. If you do certain power-ups and things, you can do a little bit more. So I think it's decently replayable in that it's very simple.
I probably wouldn't notice that I'd done the levels before.
Right.
So
right.
Yeah. So you're the expert. How'd it stack up against the originals?
I felt like it sat really well with them. Like I played through this and then the Maximum Collection came out. And so I played through Spider-Man and Venom and Silver Surfer and Captain America and the Avengers, of course. And it sits well with those, but I felt like...
Why, of course?
What do you mean?
Why Captain America and the Avengers?
Oh, because I mean, it's just, that's the game of my childhood.
Oh, okay.
That's like my go-to.
All right.
And in the Maximum Collection, too, I know it's not what we're talking about, but I just have to say, you can play the different versions of the game. So you can play like the Sega version, the Nintendo version, if there was like a Game Gear or an arcade version or something like that. You have all those different options, which I really enjoyed because there was slight variation. So it was really fun to look at. But anyway, playing them close together with Marvel Cosmic Invasion, I really felt like you could see the gameplay elements and the design choices that they made that were clearly like, we got to stay in this style. But I felt like there was a little bit of an elevation in the graphics while still having that pixelated look.
Yeah, I can see that.
It didn't really look like, oh, this is just exactly a port from an arcade from 1990.
Yeah, and the interface was a little more playable. Like it.
Yeah, there was some dexterity in what you could do in the controls.
It didn't feel so restricted.
Yeah. And they're sort of adapting the Annihilation storyline, which is fun. I mean, it's not a direct thing. They're pulling from a couple of different sources, but they're doing some work to pull in some comic storylines, which is fun. And I really appreciate that they took the time with the voice work.
Yeah.
To actually like get voices that would be familiar to people.
It was nice to hear the voices.
Yeah. And it was kind of melding them all the way across, for the last 30 years of animation. It was pulling people from different places. And I feel like everybody who was voicing these characters had done some, either that character or some Marvel work in the past. And I think that just shows a little bit of extra care because they could have just, like in the Maximum Collection, for example, like they had to redo the X-Men dialogue and they just hired 2 actors. Basically, you're going to do all the guy voices, you're going to do all the lady voices, and that's it, because like that's not what you're here for. So I really like that this took that time to pull in all these different pieces.
Well, I mean, it's a true work of nostalgia.
Yeah, it is. And so it's hitting not just like a nostalgia for this kind of game, but, if you were a fan of this particular cartoon or that particular cartoon, you're hearing these voices come back again. So I don't really have any complaints about it. I mean, I think it's a great way to spend an afternoon or a couple of afternoons. I could see having some time to kill and throwing it on and playing through a couple levels again.
All right.
Focusing on characters that I neglected the first time around.
That's true. You can always run through it with different guys.
Yeah. And it was kind of fun too, like to pick teams that made sense, like pick all X-Men or, pick like Spider-Man Venom as a team.
That is a thing you like to do.
I do. Yeah. And I think this game like gives you those opportunities.
What's the game where they like give you special achievements for doing that?
Yeah, well, the Ultimate Alliance games do that.
Yeah, like if you have a team that was
if you've chosen like the Guardians of the Galaxy or
yeah,
exactly. Yep. Yeah, so that's a nice little bonus.
All right. Well, good job, Tribute Games.
Yeah, I think so. I would like to see more of this down the road. I mean, I've got to assume that they're cheap to make, and I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know how the sales were doing, but I feel like I saw Cosmic Invasion kind of everywhere. So maybe there'll be more. I would play them.
Yeah.
And I recommend Captain America and the Avengers if you want to go classic. I think it's a lot of fun.
I think that our listeners do want to go classic.
Do you think so?
I do.
Juggernaut is a villain that you have to fight in Captain America and the Avengers.
Oh.
So it is tied to X-Men.
So it crosses right over there.
Yeah, I guess Juggernaut is a big boss both in Captain America and the Avengers and X-Men Arcade. So
they like Juggernaut.
I guess so.
Nobody else does.
So. Yeah. Rude.
So that was a fun little dalliance into
the
little video game.
I agree.
Pretty fun. Next time we're going to be back at X-Men Evolution, episode 5, Speed and Spike. I wonder what it could be about.
There's no way to know.
No way to know. Thank you to Prophetic Music for our theme song. Previously on X-Men is brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Current shows on the network include This Endorian Life and 902 Here We Go. Please rate, subscribe, or share the show wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you, Wonder Man.
Oh,
Just like that.